promised to keep it short this morning. I wasn't going to preach, and then I thought, no, I'd rather speak here than speak other than outlining things in there. So, for a few minutes. In the early 1980s, when I was at seminary in Minnesota, I was introduced to an ecumenical retreat center that had a unique name, ARC. It stood for Action, Reflection, Celebration. Maybe they thought ARC was a great name because it indicates a rounded figure like part of a circle. And also, action, reflection, celebration is part of a spiritual cycle. I always thought that it should be called Reflection, Action, Celebration, though, because it seemed more true to life. We reflect, we act, we celebrate our completed act. But I suppose RAC doesn't have quite the impact. Not too long ago, St. Francis was at the end of a period of reflection. We knew we had the resources to complete some significant acts, altering our building to make it more accessible and welcoming to all people, improving our sound system, and starting a new Sunday school program called Godly Play. We had studied, talked, listened, planned, revised, and written grants, and we were ready to jump. The construction process took longer than we had anticipated for various reasons. And the Godly Play materials needed to be purchased, the teachers trained, and the room made ready. The audio components needed to be purchased. That was our long period of action. Then, starting in early November, we began an extended period of celebration. We celebrated our first time back in the nave on All Saints' Day. We planned, invited, and publicized the open house and dedication Eucharist and the first Sunday of Godly Play. We continued through Advent, thrilled with the acoustics and sound system, participated in Helen's Godly Play demonstration on All Ages Sunday. And then there was Christmas, with all the people, 90 total between all three services, and the wonderful sound and the visual beauty. Today is the conclusion of our formal celebration time. We'll move into the parish hall as we sing our final hymn. And I mean as we sing our final hymn. So we'll be moving and singing. We'll pick up the agenda and the reports. We'll grab some food and get ready for some brief, amazing PowerPoint presentations. We will thank people and recognize their service. We'll close nominations for Mission Committee and Diocesan Convention and vote. And we'll leave with the words, "To all are welcome," which I think is our unofficial anthem, isn't it? Ringing in our heads. But at the end of a period of celebration is also the beginning of a new period of reflection and discernment. Today, as we reflect on our text from Matthew, we also hear reflection, action, celebration. Matthew reflects that after John's arrest, Jesus also did some thinking and left Nazareth, moving to Capernaum, which to Matthew's way of thinking fulfilled the prophecy in the Isaiah portion of our lessons today. Then Jesus begins to act. He starts to speak of the kingdom of heaven coming near. He calls his first 4 disciples, who also act by hearing the call and following. And then we hear a time of celebration among the people, when Jesus shows them the gospel, the good news among them, teaching, proclaiming, and healing. Today, on the scene between celebration and reflection, I invite you to do a little reflecting. The other day it occurred to me that if John 3:16 is the gospel in miniature, as Luther's called it, that verse can also be a template. The first part of the verse, God so loved the world, tells us where the love originates from and where it goes. The next part, that he gave his only begotten Son, tells us what the blessing is. And the final part, so that whoever believes in him may not perish, but have everlasting life. I use the old translation. That part is the mission part. We have the who part, God, the blessing part, Jesus, and the mission part, the one who trusts in his promises will have abundant, everlasting life. The who, the blessing, the mission. God loved that he gave so that we might receive life. We might call this verse God's blessings and mission in Christ. But if this is God's blessing and mission in Christ, St. Francis also has blessings and a mission in Christ. And so do each one of you precious people who come to this place as important members of Christ's body, the church. As a few weeks ago I gave out star gifts, I have another gift. This is for you, but you may find it so helpful that you choose to share it with the mission committee or just with me, or you may choose to use it for your own meditation and prayer only. The top row of the sheet that I will soon pass out, I'll ask the acolytes to pass out. Actually, why don't you guys do that now, and then I'll be talking. The top row has John 3:16, it's right there. Broken down as I shared it with you. The next row, your unique baptismal mission. As God so loved me, that God blessed me in these ways. And God will use me to change my world in these ways. And the last row is St. Francis's own mission, this congregation, as it is being revealed to us individually and as a community. God so loved St. Francis Church that God gave us these gifts, so that it isn't enough to sit on our accomplishments. We all know that. The cycle needs to keep moving. If a congregation gets stuck in reflection, a lot of study and discernment and planning happen, which is wonderful. But getting stuck there is to move to the foot of the mountain or to the edge of the ocean and be unwilling or unable to take the next step. If a congregation gets stuck in action, people have the potential to get burned out because there's never a time of completion and moving on to the next step. If a congregation gets stuck in celebration, there's a lot of back-patting and resting on past accomplishments, but nothing new happens. Life is change and growth. I pray that your reflection on your own and St. Francis's blessings and mission will be fruitful for all whom you impact.